You know, I could have reviewed the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. I'm sure that was probably a lot more interesting, but no! I had to be different. I had to go off the beaten path and review number 2 on the Netflix trending list. Hollyblood, aka... Remember Twilight? I remember. Seriously, that's pretty much all the reason this movie exists, is to parody Twilight. I do have my opinions of Twilight, however, A, I'm not allowed to say them out loud in the modern zeitgeist because I'm straight, white, and male, and therefore a misogynist who hates it when women don't smile because I let a few incels on YouTube speak on behalf of my entire demographic. And B, my opinion of Twilight probably doesn't really matter a whole lot in this review. I mean, the one thing I will say for sure is I feel like Hollyblood would have fit in a lot better back in like, I don't know, 2012 or 2013. This is 2022. I think we're a little past Twilight at this point, to where only the hardcores are really reading the series at this point. They're certainly dumb enough to buy Midnight Sun, which, according to my sources, is basically the same book you were reading back in like, whenever the first Twilight book came out. What was that, like 2006, 2007? I don't remember. But yeah, in 2022, we're doing this. We're parodying Twilight. And maybe a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And maybe a few other things in the mix somewhere, here and there. So there's this vampire, his name is Azrael, and he existed since the dawn of time, and he's been influencing global politics throughout his entire existence, and now he's at our high school, and if you're wondering why I'm ending every sentence with a question, that's because the opening narration does it, and I hate it when people talk like this. Seriously, I admitted several times in my audio drama reviews that I'm very particular about voiceovers and voices. And this whole thing, where everything ends in a question, is kind of one of my major pet peeves anymore. But yeah, there's all this exposition about how the vampire Azrael has existed since the dawn of time, and he might be going to school with Sarah. And then, at the premiere of the titular movie Hollyblood, a kid stops a catwalk from falling, or was it a chandelier? It was some really big heavy thing on the ceiling. It looks like he stops it with his bare hands, when in reality there's like a safety chain that kept it from crushing anybody at the last possible second. But now she thinks this kid might be Azrael, and this kid has a crush on her, and thus we begin the classic liar revealed storyline that pisses some people off, but in my opinion, when it's done right, it's tolerable. One thing I will say is the actual movie within a movie, the titular Hollyblood that everybody references in the movie, is actually kind of funny. Like, not hilarious, but it actually did elicit maybe a little chuckle out of me. If only because the only way you could parody Twilight within a parody of Twilight is to basically have people dress up like the characters from Twilight and stand in front of the camera and be all like, "Hello, I am a vampire. I sparkle in the daylight. Hello, I am a werewolf. I am physically incapable of wearing a shirt. I am a girl. I might be a zombie, but everybody just loves me for some unexplained reason." And that's pretty much what the movie was like, and it's that was just kind of amusing. Another thing I found amusing was the character of Diego, I believe that was his name. The kid who has his web series, and he's throwing vampire stakes at the wall like they're darts, and he blames his mom for everything. I would go the incel route, but dude's in high school, and you're supposed to live with mom when you're in high school, I guess. But all the same, Diego was probably the saving grace, and probably the one thing that kept me from giving this movie a flat-out 1 out of 4. Beyond those saving graces, this movie just felt like meh. Not to beat a dead horse or anything, but really, we're parodying Twilight now in 2022. I mean, get with the times, asshole. It's all about Bridgerton now. Also, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, and I don't mean to sound insensitive, but I just don't give a shit about teenagers anymore. I didn't give a shit about teenagers when I was a teenager. I just didn't give a shit about high school. High school doesn't matter. I don't really care about teenager stuff. Although the one thing I will say about this particular high school is the stereotypical school bully gave me some serious Jason Mewes vibes. Like, I was seriously expecting this guy to declare "Snoochie Moochies" at some point. I don't know, maybe that's just me. By the time it got to the third act and they revealed who Azrael really was, and the lie was revealed, and other lies were revealed, as it turns out, the wheelchair kid actually can walk, and the real Azrael wasn't who you thought it was, etc., etc. It's like, by the time this all happened, I just didn't care. I just wanted this movie to be over with. Bottom line, it's not the worst Twilight parody I've ever seen. It's not even the worst movie I've ever seen, but I've definitely seen a lot better. 2 hats out of 4.